Good evening. First to that major breaking news. A speeding driver has ploughed into Christmas shoppers outside Flinders Street station. Horrified witnesses describe bodies flying everywhere as the driver appeared to speed up before hitting pedestrians. At least 12 people are hurt, including a young child.
Almost a year after Bourke Street, terror on the streets of Melbourne once again. A man is pulled from a car. It's not yet clear whether he's a terrorist or a driver responsible for a terrifying situation. What is clear is the carnage. Pedestrians lying injured on the ground, strewn across the busy intersection of Flinders and Elizabeth Streets. Witnesses saw them fly through the air. They claim the four-wheel drive ran a red light and ploughed into the group at a pedestrian crossing. One estimate of the speed was 100 kilometres an hour.
As the car got to her, and this is the horrific part for her, and she's on the phone just crying to me, the guy gunned the car and accelerated into the intersection. Oh. And then when he hit the first lot of people, you could hear the car revving again. So it was quite deliberate.
Just hear this big, sound like an explosion, screaming. I sprinted down seconds after the crash, and just bodies just everywhere.
Screaming, there was just screaming. And there was just so many people running away, and I heard screaming, I heard the bang, and I just wanted to get my girls out of there.
Firefighters helped paramedics treat the wounded, at least a dozen assessed, including a preschool-aged child. Such was the force of the impact, the front of the vehicle was caved in. The driver is now in custody as the police investigation begins, and Melbourne starts to come to terms with another tragedy. Kate Jones, 7 News.
Blake Johnson is at the Alfred Hospital tonight. Blake, what can you tell us about the injured?
Well, Mark, the situation and the numbers are changing very quickly. The latest update is that 12 people were injured and being treated by paramedics at the scene. We know that 5 were taken to the Royal Melbourne Hospital. 3 of those are stable. 2 of them are in critical conditions. A preschool-aged child with head injuries was taken to the Royal Children's Hospital, and we understand 3 are here at the Alfred Hospital, although the hospital staff are still trying to work out who they are and confirm exactly what conditions they're in. So you'd expect, as the night goes on, that number will change. Mike?
Thanks, Blake. Blake Johnson there. Brendan Donoghue is at the police headquarters. Brendan, witnesses have been arriving there.
That's right, Mark. In the last hour, more than 20 witnesses have arrived here at the City West Police Station. You might be able to see just through the door there's a lot of police taking statements from a lot of people who have done the right thing and come up here to the corner of La Trobe and Spencer Street. Now, I spoke to one witness, Nick. He said that he saw a car go through the intersection at speed and he just heard thump after thump after thump. He, of course, came up here to give his statement. I saw 2 distraught women out the front here having a cigarette. I overheard one of them saying she was just so worried about the little boy and an Asian man. I've spoken to the Premier's office. They have not been told yet by police whether police believe it is an act of terrorism or whether there is another motive. Of course, it comes just one day after the first anniversary of the Bourke Street massacre, when Jimmy Gargasoulis allegedly drove his red Commodore through that street, killing a number of people. And of course, with Christmas shopping, it's bound to be a very tense time in Melbourne tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday before Christmas Day. Mike?
Let's go back to that major breaking news happening in the CBD where so many pedestrians have been struck. Jackie Felgate is on the scene. Jackie, what's it like down there?
Mike, it is a really eerie scene right now. There are scores of police and ambulance officers still trying to work out exactly why this attack occurred. We don't yet know if it's terror-related or whether or not this was some sort of lone wolf attack. But what I have been told by witnesses was that this driver was behind a tram. He was revving the engine over and over again. He hit people, then he stopped the car, then he started again and he hit more people. Of course, one of those, a small child, a primary school aged child. I've spoken to a number of witnesses who told me that it was like a bomb going off, that they all came running out. People were helping these people just lying on the street here on Elizabeth Street. At least 16 people hit, 12 people in hospital. It is a really eerie scene down here. It is, of course, Christmas. Just a few hours ago, this street was busy with pedestrians, and right now the public is being kept well back, right back to Bourke Street Mall. There are no people around here at the moment, just police trying to work out exactly what happened. You've seen from those photos just how the driver was pulled from that vehicle. A witness told me that when he saw the car, he described it as crumpled like a tin can from the amount of people that driver had hit. So, Mike, the scene still developing down here. A lot of police, a lot of ambulances, a very eerie scene on what really is almost Christmas Eve here in the city.
Returning now to the horrific events in Flinders Street, and pictures just in show smoke pouring from under the bonnet of the driver's SUV just moments after more than a dozen people were mowed down, while a photo shows the moment he was dragged from the vehicle. Another video shows stunned onlookers doing their best to help the victims. We'll cross live for an update shortly. Returning now to the CBD emergency, witnesses have described the moment a four-wheel drive ploughed into pedestrians at a crossing on Flinders and Elizabeth Street.
The guy gunned the car and accelerated into the intersection. And then when he hit the first lot of people, you could hear the car revving again. So it was quite deliberate.
Sounded like an explosion, screaming. I sprinted down seconds after the crash, and just bodies just like everywhere.
The driver has been dragged from the car and is now being questioned. A dozen people have been treated. One is a child with serious head injuries. Jackie Felgate is at the scene. Let's go back to her now. Jackie, what's the latest?
Mike, I can tell you now that 2 people have been arrested by police, 2 people involved in this terrible incident, the driver and also a passenger of that SUV. Speaking to witnesses, they've told us that car came through here at least 100 kilometres an hour, deliberately mowing down pedestrians as he went. At one point, someone told me that he was actually, quote, gunning it as he continued to drive down Elizabeth Street here. Another witness said the car was like a tin can as people were thrown into the air as he hit them. At least 16 people are in hospital, 6 of those seriously, injured, including a young child. Right now at the scene, police and paramedics are continuing to comb the area. It's closed from Collins Street to Flinders Street. Flinders Street Station is also shut as police try to work out whether or not this incident was terror-related. Speaking to witnesses, they say it certainly appeared that the driver was deliberately mowing people down, mowing down Christmas shoppers. Part of Elizabeth Street, interestingly, actually does have bollards on it, so it appears that the driver has gone around the trams here and deliberately targeted those pedestrians simply doing their Christmas shopping and going about their business. All of this occurring just metres from the Bourke Street massacre, which of course claimed 6 lives earlier this year. But Mike, we will keep you updated on the situation as it unfolds.
Returning now to the emergency in the city, Jodie Lee is at the scene. Jodie, what's the latest there?
Well, Mike, as you can see right now, we're standing at the intersection of Flinders and Swanston Street. I'll just take you round this way where hundreds of pedestrians are being kept behind barriers at various points. This crowd at one point was up to the thousands. Of course, now they've started to disperse as we're almost 2 hours after the initial incident. They're crowding outside the entrance of Flinders Street Station, at Federation Square behind me, and at St Paul's Cathedral, because these CBD roads have been blocked off at various points for almost 2 hours. If we swing you round the tram tracks here, Flinders Street is a virtual ghost town, but you can see it did all unfold behind me here. It kicked off almost 20 to 5. That's when we know from bystanders a man driving a white SUV sped toward pedestrians just outside the station at the intersection of Elizabeth and Flinders Street. He mowed down several people, and the latest information from Victorian Ambulance Services is that 13 people have been taken to various hospitals across the city. 2 people have been treated here at the scene. One of them, tragically, is a preschool-aged child who suffered serious head injuries and is now currently being treated at the Royal Children's Hospital. You would have seen those pictures of 2 arrests. We still don't know where the second man was, but one man was dragged from that white SUV. He was handcuffed on the ground in front of hundreds of bystanders. And Mike, as I'm sure you can understand, the CBD was packed this evening at Summer's Night here on a Thursday, just days out from Christmas. There were hundreds of people flooding bars and the streets trying to make that commute home. We are waiting now for a police press conference, and hopefully that will bring to light more detail about just what's happened here, Mike.
Just now updating the emergency in the city. Ambulance Victoria has confirmed 12 people have been treated. 3 have been taken to the Alfred, another 3 have been taken to the Royal Melbourne Hospital. A preschool-aged child with a head injury has been taken to Royal Children's Hospital in a serious condition. A man in a 4-wheel drive headed up the tram tracks and straight into pedestrians at the intersection of Flinders and Elizabeth Street. Heavily armed police swarmed to the area, dragging the man from the vehicle. He is now in custody and being questioned.
Amazing how quickly get up and react to it, and I think Melburnians are pretty strong. They are ready to help anyone, and I'm just in awe of the emergency services as well. The way they organised it was really, really impressive.
And police have now confirmed a second man has been arrested and is also being questioned. Good evening from the 7 newsroom. At least 14 pedestrians have been struck by an out-of-control car on Flinders Street between Elizabeth and Swanston Streets in the heart of Melbourne. 2 of the victims are critical.
The guy gunned the car and accelerated into the intersection. Oh. And then when he hit the first lot of people, you could hear the car revving again. So it was quite deliberate.
Sounded like an explosion, screaming. I sprinted down seconds after the crash, and just bodies just like everywhere.
The driver was dragged from the car and arrested by police. A second man has also been arrested. Here's what Victoria Police had to say on the situation a short time ago.
At this stage, we believe it's a deliberate act. Can I repeat that? At this stage, we believe it is a deliberate act. However, we do not know the motivation, and it is still early stages of the investigation. Police and emergency services will remain on scene for the foreseeable future. Crime Command have primacy of the investigation, and we are requesting people to avoid the area. Can I repeat that? The crime scene will be in place for a considerable period of time, and we are urging people who can avoid the area to avoid the area. Police will continue to have a strong presence in the Melbourne CBD tonight. People may have items and vehicles within the crime scene. At this stage, they will not be able to be retrieved until the crime scene is reopened. We understand that this has been a very traumatic event, and there will be witnesses, victims and family members affected. Anyone who witnessed the incident is urged to attend the Spencer Street Police Station at 313 Spencer Street, Melbourne, to make a statement. Welfare services are present at that location. We encourage anyone with any other information to contact Crime Stoppers. Thank you.
We'll have a special bulletin on the CBD emergency at 8:30.